Hi everybody, how are we all doing? I hope we're having a good weekend so far, at least you have been having a good weekend so far. I believe it's Mother's Day in the States and also in Australia, so for you awesome mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. Right, we're back this week with second to last Arrow character spotlight. Obviously final one will be done next weekend after the airing of the season 2 finale, Unthinkable, and I've also got a competition coming up as well. So after the finale is aired next week, I will be doing a video where we're going to be giving away Arrow masks. Okay, a friend of mine, John, has been busy making replicas of the of Oliver's mask on the TV show, so he's going to send me a few. I don't know how many are coming, to be honest. I'm hoping it's just a small number and not a huge box full or something, but yeah, I will be doing a competition next weekend and let you know the full details of what's going to happen then, so look out for that one. Okay, so this week's Arrow character spotlight is focusing none other than Malcolm Merlyn himself, the Dark Archer, played by John Barrowman. Everybody loves John Barrowman, we love him. He first appeared on the show pretty much from the get-go at the beginning of season 1. We didn't know who he was to begin with. He was just known as the well-dressed man at the time, and we found out that he and Moira Queen were both working together. Obviously, when she mentioned about the Queen's Gambit being sabotaged during, when Oliver and Robert disappeared, and obviously when Oliver's subsequent return, Moira tells John tells Malcolm at the time that Oliver has no idea that that the boat was sabotaged, or we caused the accident, this, that, and the other. So he was pretty much responsible for the undertaking, and we've had flashbacks back in season 1 where we learned about Malcolm was wanting to level the Glades because of what happened to his wife Rebecca. She was killed, she was murdered brutally in the streets of Starling City in the Glades, and that pretty much turned him. It made him become a more ruthless, man, in that he was not the fact that his own wife, who had a clinic, who was helping people off her own back for her own good, through the kindness of her heart, and she got brutally murdered by someone who, was after money or something like that. I can't remember the full details. So he decided he wanted to level the Glades, and that was his focus. And we go back to the time of when Robert Queen was still alive. He's having a meeting with Queen and a couple of other associates as well, who were all part of the undertaking. Well, at the time they were going to be part of the undertaking, but Robert didn't want to have anything to do with it. So he is a bit of a misunderstanding character in times, but his heart lies with his children. I was going to say his son, obviously his son being Tommy, but we know now that Thea is also his daughter. So his heart lies with his children. He wants the best for them. He wants to look after them, even though Tommy did resent him and didn't want to have anything to do with him when he found out that his dad was wanting to sell the clinic that his mother had been running, that she owned. He wasn't happy about that, but at the same time, it was just something that he wanted to do because he was going to level the place. He was going to level the Glades anyway, which he eventually did with the help of Moira. So coming into season 2, we remember at the end of season 1, him and Oliver faced off like the 3rd time, I believe, and then eventually Oliver put an arrow in him. Don't forget, in the first 2 instances that they were fighting, Malcolm bested Oliver like tremendously. It was just not even funny. So when the final fight came in the season finale, Oliver eventually beat him. He put an arrow through him. Oliver thought he was dead. We all thought he was dead, and then suddenly in season 2 he reappears, and it's like, oh my god, this guy is back. He's been trained by the League of Assassins. Ra's al Ghul is not happy that he left the League of Assassins. Moira was the one that made Ra's aware of Merlyn's disappearance, and the fact that he's come back to life as well. I mean, let's have a look. I mean, if we were to look at the character Merlyn himself, aka the Dark Archer that he is, in the comics, and I know I've spoken about this briefly in the video that I did about Tommy Merlyn, but we know that in the comics the Dark Archer pretty much is, you know, a straight up villain of Green Arrow's, and I believe in the New 52, even Tommy himself is in the New 52 as well, as Merlyn as such, and a Dark Archer sort of persona about him as well. But I mean, in the comics, to say the character Merlyn was created back in 1971, I believe, was its first appearance. So they've sort of carried on that sort of, you know, chain of events as such. I mean, I think we remember in Smallville, we had a character also called a Dark Archer in that show, but the alter ego for that character was known as Vortigern, and he was someone who trained Oliver Queen, you know, to learn all the skills with a bow and arrow and whatnot. So that was on the Smallville universe, whereas in the Arrow universe, this particular version of the Dark Archer, trained by the League of Assassins with Ra's al Ghul, you know, at Nanda Parbat and all that sort of stuff. So he's fully aware of, you know, what's really going on in the sort of mystical world of Nanda Parbat and everything there. But what are we going to see now regarding Merlyn? Well, we know in last week's episode, and if you haven't watched, spoilers coming up, if you haven't watched Streets of Fire, Thea shot her dad, although I still don't think that she actually shot him, but then again, if she did shoot him, he's not dead. He will have a bulletproof vest or something underneath his Dark Archer outfit, because, you know, Merlyn always thinks ahead. He always thinks ahead. But I do think we're going to see him in the season finale next week. I do also believe that he is probably not going to help Oliver directly, because he's there for Thea. He's going to look after Thea and protect Thea. Whether or not he's going to decide to take Thea away with him, you know, to protect her somewhere, probably go back to Nanda Parbat, who knows, you know, eventually train her up to become Speedy. But we know that the League of Assassins will be in next week's episode, in the finale, because Nyissa Al Ghul is back, and she looks like she brings along a few of her friends as well from the League. So we could potentially see a serious face-off of some kind, possibly between Deathstroke and the Dark Archer, as well as the Arrow as well, and obviously Roy Harper now with his mask, and apparently he's also got a bow and arrow with him as well, and obviously you've got Canary, and then not to mention Laurel and Diggle and Felicity. It's going to be interesting, but yeah, no, I would like to see more of Malcolm Merlyn in season 3. You know, he doesn't have to be a central focus as he was in season 1, because he was brilliant in season 1. You know, him being pretty much the main sort of villain for season 1. I mean, we all remember in the second to last episode when you eventually found out that Oliver was the Arrow. That was a turning point for both of them, to be honest. But yeah, no, as I say, Malcolm Merlyn is a prominent character now, I think, in the Arrow universe, and he has been missed. I have to admit, I know that Slade Wilson's been the main protagonist for this season, but Malcolm has been missed big time, and it shows. And a lot of people, a lot of the fans who watch the show will say that, you know, he has been missed. And like I said, when I did the review for Streets of Fire this week, when he appeared, when he showed up to save Thea, I was never more excited for him to return, to be honest. So who knows? We'll see if he partners up with Oliver and his team next week. But I'm looking forward to it, seeing how that emerges anyway. But that's it for me. As I say, next week will be the final Arrow character spotlight. I don't know who I'm going to talk about. I've got to make it interesting. I could talk about Oliver. It would seem fitting to talk about Oliver, you know, being the last one and all. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll let you know next weekend who I'm going to talk about. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you all very soon. Bye.